The king of the pirates. He's made of rubble. How did that happen? Yo ho ho, he took a bite of gum gum.
Welcome to more Fanime. What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be reviewing chapter 1066 of the One Piece manga. Yes! Can you believe One Piece is now at 1066 chapters? I love One Piece so much. Anytime I'm having a rough day, I just remember One Piece is real. And it just, brings a smile to my face, doesn't it? Bring you guys a smile. Doesn't One Piece bring you a smile on your darkest days? Because it does for me. And chapter 1066 is fan-fucking-tastic. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend you go into it blind, because a lot of shit got revealed, a lot of theories have been confirmed. Shit's going down. It's mostly a info dump, but a amazing info dump. I would say it's on par with the Reverie in excitement. Now, before I get into spoilers and whatnot, deep into this review, please don't forget to subscribe to More Fanime. Don't forget to like and share this video. It really helps me out with those YouTube algorithms. So, 1066's cover page is essentially the end of the Germa 66 mini-story, cover story. One of the best cover stories throughout the entire series, hands down. Recently I found out that, I think his name's Yanji of the three brothers, the green one, number 4? Is he number 4? Whatever. Yanji's voice actor, English voice actor in the anime is the same guy who plays Bakugo in My Hero Academia, one of the best characters in that entire show, and now I get to have the best character essentially from My Hero Academia's voice actor, and similar attitudes, honestly. Him and Yanji's character, they kind of little angry man, and it just makes me smile hearing his, his voice again, but now in a far superior anime. So the cover story seems to be the end of the Germa 66 excursion, I believe it's called, and it looks like they have returned back home to Judge. Hopefully Judge is okay. He was pretty beat up at the end of Whole Cake Island, but now in tow they have Caesar joining Germa 66. I don't think he's gonna leave at all. I think he's gonna be 100% an official member of Germa 66. Honestly, Caesar needed a crew, he needed a squad, he needed protection. He wasn't going to be able to go off on his own and get revenge on the Straw Hats, if that's still his plan. So him joining Germa is probably the best fit. Honestly, before the end of Whole Cake Island, I was kind of hoping he would just officially join the Fire Tank Pirates with Beiji. And, God, what's his little... Whatever. With Beiji, because I think him as Gastino, or was it Gastino, I think? Yeah. Him being part of Beiji's crew, to me, was awesome and a perfect little fit. And he kind of could have maybe formed some bonds with that crew, since he had to help them out at Whole Cake. But it didn't work out that way, and that's fine. That's great. Him being part of Germa 66 makes way more sense scientifically, since Judge is also a scientist who also worked with Vegapunk. They got us some stories to swap for sure. They're going to eat lunch together. They're going to talk about the future of science and whatnot. Now that Judge has lost his ticket with Big Mom, he's got to figure out a new plan. And he did promise. He promised to stay out of the East Blue for Sanji. But I mean, what else could he want right now? You assume Caesar wants revenge on the Straw Hats. But at the same time, I'm sure he's just happy to be home. I don't believe Oda would have made him such an important character, so I don't think he's going to just disappear. I don't think Germa 66 is just going to disappear. They are going to be part of the final battle. I don't know if we're going to see them beforehand. I mean, this cover story took place before the current events that are happening on Egghead Island. So they could technically be on their way to Egghead Island as well, but there's already so many moving parts right now with Egghead Island. I don't want that extra wedge in the story right now. I mean, we have too much to worry about right now. Not even including Law versus Blackbeard. We have CP0 coming to Egghead. We have both, the crew is split into 3 right now, if you count Zoro and Brook on the ship, which I do. You have Caribou on Egghead, probably gonna fuck something up, being the worst freaking character currently in the story, in my opinion. Not a big Caribou fan here, just saying. Maybe in the future Oda will, prove me wrong, just like he did with Caesar, just like he did with many other characters. Mr. 3, characters I thought I would never like, but over time Oda developed them to a point where I'm like, I get why they're such D-bags. There's a reason for it, and that's when I respect the character. I like the character. I know where it's coming from, and that, or they become really funny, and I start getting a chuckle out of their gimmicks or their laughs. Caesar, for example, there, or Mr. 3 saving Luffy at Marineford. That's another example of Mr. 3 stepping up and earning my respect as a fan. I mean, he's not one of my top 10 favorite characters by all means, but I don't wish his character didn't exist in the story like Caribou. I don't think Caribou was totally a necessary piece. We'll have to see what he's going to do with the information he gathered from the Straw Hats. I don't know if he'll be as good of a character as I would say Caesar is right now. All right. So, after the cover story, we jump right back to Vegapunk talking to the crew, talking to the Sanji, Nami, Frankie, Usopp, and Nico Robin. They're all chilling there, talking to Vegapunk, locked into the floor, magnetized and locked in thanks to those magnet boots. It'd be kind of sick if Sanji just Diable Jamba'd his foot out, or something, showed off massive leg strength and just pulled his feet off the magnetism, or at least showed him partially pulling it off, showing just how strong he is, with his legs and whatnot. It almost would make sense that he could Diable Jambe his way out of the boot, at least. Maybe with just one leg. I don't know. Maybe he's got a more proficient choice of legs. Maybe the right leg seems to be the numero uno one he kicks with, but I don't think he really cares. He'd kick with both. Maybe he could double Diable Jambe, burst out of those boots, and give Vegapunk a swift kick into the mouth for making Nico Robin cry this chapter. We're watching you, bud. You don't make Nico Robin cry when we're around, sir. Even with good news. Speaking of good news, Vegapunk does explain more about how there was a possible kingdom in the Void Century. We all kind of knew that, but I don't know if the whole crew did. And this kingdom was futuristic, just like Egghead Island, at least as futuristic as Egghead Island, if not more futuristic. And it was taken down by the 20 kings who then created the current world government, including the Nefertaris who split off after. So there's still so many components we don't know about this story. We're just getting the gist of it from Vegapunk. And he's like, it's really just a theory. Even Usopp's freaking out going, so you're saying the world government destroyed Ohara just because they had a theory about a kingdom in the Void Century that was far advanced and probably not that bad? And he's like, just for having a theory, just for wanting to look into the past, they were deleted by the world government. They weren't destroyed by the world government. There was nothing left of them in the history books. They were erased. And that's what happened. And Usopp saying, so if they find out that we know this information, they will erase us from existence, essentially, to probably deleting us and anybody else who's ever known we also existed, so they don't go into how we died and find out what we were researching or what we found out. That shit's pretty messed up. And Usopp pounding his head on the ground like, I did not hear anything. Please let me go. I don't want to hear this. But Nico Robin's like, so what do you know, Vegapunk? I don't want to give you information off the bat. I don't even know you, Vegapunk. You've got all these satellite bodies. We have no idea what's going on with you. I can't just start spitting out information. And he's like, no, hold on. This is Shaka Vegapunk talking to Nico Robin. Yes, I was a friend of Dr. Clover, I believe his name was, the archaeologist, the one that helped train Nico Robin as a child. So they were friends. So that's pretty amazing. We find out that Clover was once essentially a pirate in his day and was captured and escaped over 10 times by the Marines, by the world government. I wonder if he ever actually made it to Impel Down, because from what I know, Impel Down only had a few escapes over its years, and Dr. Clover was not one of them. Or maybe Dr. Clover's escape record was completely wiped. Nobody talks about Dr. Clover ever escaping 10 times from Impel Down because he never existed, is what the world government did. And that's why all we think is that Luffy's gang escaped, Shiki escaped, and some dude from the Revolutionary Army escaped at one point. That's all I knew up until now. Dr. Clover captured 10 times. Maybe 4 or 5 of those times he was put into Impel Down, or the version of Impel Down of his day. And there's no record of him escaping any longer since they erased his existence. That's a big thing. That is a huge thing that we're finding out about Dr. Clover. The fact that we get to see a young Clover on a pirate ship on his way to seek knowledge and do archaeology, plunder archaeology from the world. He was probably the weirdest pirate. He's like, I'm here to learn about your island. And that's it. And get all the books you have. Anything I can get. Anything from history. That's what he's doing. I'm not sure if he was a pirate, but he was an adventurer for at least 10 years. And I would consider him a pirate since the government kept hunting him down. And again, I guess eventually he settled down in Ohara. Either he was given permission to live there and train archaeologists by the world government, since he was a wanted man. Like, how did he get permission to be an archaeologist there? Or did they not know he was there? And then once they found out, they're like, well, they're probably trying to find out about the Void Century. Get rid of that. Get rid of Clover and anybody else that's ever met the guy on that island. Whip-de-doo. Wrap it up, boys. But we find out the world government is a bunch of dumbasses, because the archaeologists that were killed at Ohara by Spandam's dad with the Buster Call, the archaeologists burned to death during the Buster Call in the Tree of Knowledge, but they saved as many books as possible, and I'm assuming they saved all the important ones by throwing them into this lake. I mean, I've seen books get soaked by water in like rainstorms and stuff, and they don't usually come back. So I'm thinking that these scrolls or whatever they're written on, I'm thinking they're not perfectly preserved. I'm thinking there's probably pieces of knowledge missing thanks to water damage. But we're going to get a lot of it from these books that eventually were saved by giants of all people, because on the most amazing day of days in Ohara's non-existent history, months after the Buster Call, after the Marines left these books that they saw in the lake, and they were just like, well, I wonder what those books are about. And he's like, probably just learning doctor stuff. And the Marines are talking, and it's like, well, we're about to ship out. Now we see these books here. They wanted us to burn everything. Well, you know, they're in this lake. Like 7 months or so, they'll start to deteriorate completely. We don't even have to worry about it. Imagine fishing out all these thousands of books. It'll take at least a couple days, and we want to go home to our families. I'm hungry. It's dinner time. We might have to miss dinner time to fish out these books. They might make us hurry our asses up. We might have to work all night. And these 2 Marines that sees like, let's just say we saw it, but, you know, it was just a bunch of math books. Who needs learning in this world? Even though they were probably assigned, this must have been grunts who saw it and were like, just don't say anything. Let's just go back. Just don't say anything. But we find out Dr. Vegapunk in his youth with this ginormous Mojo Jojo head, from Powerpuff Girls, that just giant brain inside the skull, bigger than his actual body. Vegapunk sitting there looking at this lake full of books, thousands of books, and he's like, this is great, and he's telling Nico Robin this, or the Shaka version is telling Nico Robin this in the current timeline, and he's explaining that, okay, what do I do? Can I take these books back to Punk Hazard with me? No, Caesar will fuck it up. Someone will tell on me, and that's not gonna happen. I don't want these books to be destroyed, but where do I take them? Who should I get to take them? And then out of nowhere, within a few weeks or some shiz, I don't know how long Vegapunk was there. I can't imagine it was on this exact same day the Giant showed up, and Dragon shows up, and Vegapunk shows up. I'm assuming this happened over the course of a few weeks, months, where Vegapunk kept going back or something, and then one time he goes back and he sees the Giants in the lake fishing out these books, and we find out that Jaguar D, Saul, is back. Baby, the guy who saved Nico Robin back when O'Hara was burned down, the guy who was frozen solid by Aokiji. I'll be honest, I thought this dude was dead. I mean, has there ever been a character from a sad backstory in One Piece that's ever come back to life or been deemed not killed? Like, we assumed because he was frozen solid, Aokiji seemed pretty confident it was dead. I mean, we've seen characters like Luffy and I think Nico Robin get completely frozen over, and they were saved because they were thawed properly. So my assumption is during the Buster Call, it helped melt some of Saul's ice, since he was covered in Ice Age by Aokiji. I mean, Aokiji felt pretty bad helping Nico Robin leave and whatnot, starting off this huge thing. Honestly, if Aokiji didn't let Nico Robin go, shit, the crew would be fucked. They couldn't do so much. They couldn't do a lot without Nico Robin. They would have to find somebody else who could read the poneglyphs. I mean, really, if it wasn't for Nico Robin, they probably wouldn't even pay attention so much to these poneglyphs in any way, shape, or form. And they're the key to the One Piece. It would have taken a lot longer to figure out that we need someone who can read these. So Nico Robin's one of the best characters in the story, and this entire chapter is essentially a Nico Robin chapter, and it makes me very happy. If you haven't seen my new tattoo, check it out. I just got it done on Friday. It took about 3.5 hours. Isn't it gorgeous? Comment down below what you think about my new tat. My Nico Robin tat. I've been thinking about this for months now. Finally done. Got it done by a tattoo artist named Green Soap. That's his tagline or Instagram handle. Green Soap primarily does black and white anime tattoos. Highly recommend you go get your shit done right there in Eugene, Oregon. He is fantastic, and he's a true fan of anime, and you can have a long convo about anime while he does your sick new tattoos. I've got 4 anime tats from this dude, and I promise I'm getting more, baby. Back to the story, though. So these giants, led by Jaguar D Soul, who lives on with the will of D, take the books to O'Hara. Dragon shows up, explains to Vegapunk that, yes, these are good giants. They're taking these books to O'Hara. We're going to preserve them. I mean, the government pretty much leaves the giants alone for the most part. So it's a perfect place to put them. Saul here is going to go into hiding because he's supposed to be deleted as well. So we can't let the government know he exists in any way, shape, or form. He's probably just as wanted right now as Dr. Clover in one way. Or at least just as wanted as Nico Robin if they found out he was alive. I mean, he knows more about the world government, so it's, yeah, he's probably a threat. And now that he saved these books, went to, Elbath and was like, please come with me, get a big ass ship. We're taking these books back here. I mean, all their ships are ginormous. So I'm assuming 10 or 5 giants, maybe some giants we've met before in the story, all show up, help our boy Jaguar D Soul lift these books out of the water, preserve them, get the hair dryer or the snail hair dryer and dry them all off, and then get that shit back to the way it is. Maybe redo them, maybe have to rewrite them down into new books because of the water damage and whatnot. Vegapunk talks to Dragon. We find out that Dragon, Ivankov and Kuma are the founding fathers, essentially, of the Revolutionary Army. And that's so crazy because right now we have Bonnie, and we kind of already knew this, but we didn't know that Kuma... I didn't know that these three were the founding three, but I knew they've been a part of the Revolutionary Army together for a very long time. But it was pretty cool, and it's dope that right now we have Bonnie and Luffy in the story, together, getting to know each other. Two characters like Kuma, who was turned into a cyborg by Vegapunk. I think, God, who was it? I think it was Frankie in this that actually finally asked him, hey, why did you turn Kuma into a cyborg? Why did you program him to protect the Sunny for a year and a half or some shiz? Why did you do this? What was the big plan? What's the all-encompassing idea here, Vegapunk? And he doesn't explain anything to Frankie, but it's cool that the characters that do know certain things are remembering certain things. They're triggering memories, going, right, Kuma, cyborg, Vegapunk, you did that. Why don't we talk about that? Bonnie's here. I don't think the rest of the crew know that Bonnie is actually the little girl that went with Luffy and our boy Jinbei and Chopper. So they wouldn't know that yet, but Dr. Vegapunk does, because the actual Vegapunk is still alive. He's not just divided into 6 satellite bodies. He cut up his ginormous brain, but he still exists, and now he's got like a metal hat that looks like an apple. He kind of looks like Albert Einstein, very Toon-like, big, long tongue. This is a theory I'm dropping here. I think I'm the first to say it, so please comment down below and remember this. I think that Perospero, his real father, is Vegapunk. I think at some point, Vegapunk was essentially Big Mom's first, since Perospero, I believe, is the first son of Big Mom, Vegapunk could have been the first relationship with Big Mom, and had Perospero, her first son, and then maybe they split off. Perospero, we're going to find out, is a very important character and is actually Perospero Vegapunk or Perospero Punk. We don't know. But look at those tongues. You can't tell me there isn't a likeness here between Vegapunk and Perospero. I always thought it was because of him having the lick candy fruit thing, that he has a long tongue and he goes lick. But I think now it is a gene that was carried over from his father, Dr. Vegapunk. Theory laid down. The challenge has been laid. When this is proven true, I'm going to come back to this video and I'm going to be so excited. Dragon, they formed the Revolutionary Army. He even offers a spot to Vegapunk on the Revolutionary Army, and he's disappointed that Vegapunk decided to join the world government. But I totally get it. Vegapunk says it. He's like, you're not going to be able to provide me with funds to do all the research, all the experiments that I want to do, Dragon. Your Revolutionary Army is great and whatnot. The freedom fighters, they're great. But you guys can't support me. What's the point of using my brain? I'm not a fighter. I can't help you with any espionage right now. So let's come up with a plan. I'm going to stay with the world government and use their funds to create things that they think are for them, including the pacifistas and the seraphim. I'm thinking right now, the pacifistas and the seraphim, now that it is confirmed that Vegapunk is working with the Revolutionary Army, it's pretty obvious here. I don't think that Vegapunk would make death machines, Terminators, for them without some kind of off switch. I'm thinking when the big war comes, at some point when it's Seraphim, even if it's just like 7 or 10 Seraphim, one for each warlord, or an army of Seraphim of different types, and also pacifistas. I hope we still have those around. I mean, we just saw a cop one on Egghead Island. I'm assuming they're still kicking. These new Seraphim, all of them are going to turn on the world government, because why would Vegapunk make these super soldiers without some kind of self-destruction button or some way to have them turn on their masters something? Or maybe they'll list, maybe this is why when Dragon asked Kuma, like, what kind of shit did you see at Marijoa? And he's like, yes, Master Dragon. Maybe it was programmed in to Kuma, maybe to all the pacifistas, that if Dragon says something, you have to listen. That's why. I mean, there was a point where people thought maybe Dragon was a celestial dragon, since his name's Dragon. Kind of obvious this whole time. It's been sitting staring at us this whole time. But I don't think that's the case now. I think Vegapunk being friends with Dragon, being friends with Kuma and Ivankov, he planned this out. I don't think Ivankov knew about the Kuma plan, though, because when Ivankov saw Kuma at at Marineford, he was like, what is going on here? And Doflamingo was like, well, Kuma gave up his entire, existence to now be a full cyborg, and we didn't know what the shit was happening anymore at that point. Completely mind wiped for Kuma. So I'm hoping Vegapunk put a switch in to fix that, because why would you completely wipe someone's memories? I think Vegapunk, if he's gonna do that, he did it as a pretend punishment for the world government, to be like, okay, maybe they were like, destroy him. And he's like, no, I can make him listen, don't worry. Clicked something on, they're like, okay, fine, we'll let him exist, but he's got to be a slave to the world government. Or maybe even Vegapunk was like, what if you made him live in Marijoa and see all your secrets? But he won't remember anything. He's just a robot. Don't worry. He'll just be a slave to the government. And maybe he is. And until they hit that switch, or maybe Dragon gives him his life back somehow with a command, maybe Kuma got a bunch of info that we're going to need to hear immediately. I am a little disappointed we didn't get to see anything about Law in this chapter. I really hope that was in the end. I really hope that that's not the last time we're going to see the battle, the epic collision of Blackbeard's crew and Law's crew, because the beginning of that fight was amazing. And I want to see the whole thing, baby. I don't want just a half an episode of this fight when it goes into the anime. I want 3-4 episodes of Law versus Blackbeard. I want the whole thing. We can't just zip on by. Maybe some of it, maybe some secret things that Oda doesn't want us to see that Blackbeard can do, fine, but let us see the ending at least. Let us see the ending. Let's see our boy Law kicking ace, taking names. That's what I want to see in my mangas week to week. Yes, I'm very excited for what we're getting right now with all this information about Kuma and Vegapunk. And actually, we didn't get that much information about Kuma. Whatever. Either way, we get to see Vegapunk, the real Vegapunk in the current timeline as well. And he's talking to Bonnie, he's talking to Luffy and Chopper, and they're just like, what the hell? This is just like Kinemon, because he's stuck inside the cyborg. It almost looks like he teleported in, maybe on purpose to find Luffy and Bonnie. I'm also curious if Vegapunk is... how do you say this? If he's, incapable of being a genius now that he gave up, 6 of his personalities into these satellites, right? They're all very smart, right? But they're only holding, I assume, a piece of his ginormous brain. But as it's seen here, Vegapunk has lost a lot of his dome. So does that mean that Vegapunk is not as smart? Is he not as, I don't know, did he give up his humanity in a way to make these 6 satellites so he could possibly live beyond his years? Very possibly. We see Bonnie, about to pull out her new lightsaber, or saber of light, whatever she found earlier in the junkyard, and she's like, Vegapunk, we need to talk! But before they can even have a conversation, Vegapunk's like, Bonnie, Luffy, it's great to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Come with me. Use your jet boots. You have jet boots, like jetpack boots. Just push these buttons and all of them shoot up in the air. And Bonnie's just like, wait, Vegapunk, we need to talk about Bartholomew Kuma. We do. I want to hear the whole story. Just tell us. We know you did something to us, to Kuma. Tell us. Tell us, Oda. I want to know the whole thing. I'm ready. We've seen all the satellites. We've seen the actual body of Dr. Vegapunk. I'm so glad he doesn't have that giant head anymore. I think that would just be so distracting to see week to week. Now he's got the nice symmetrical dome with the apple top. That's perfect. That's all he needs. Great design, Oda. Perfect. The only thing I really don't like is that giant tongue, but since he is the father of Perospero, it makes total sense for him to also have the giant tongue. Oda did it again. That, foreshadowing and whatnot. Killing it, Oda. Shit's just getting started. This whole chapter was basically just Vegapunk Shaka telling Nico Robin that, the will of Ohara lives on. The books, most of the books survived, and most of the data survived. I've read the data. He went to Elbaf and read probably all of the books on his vacation time from the world government. He probably was like, hey guys, I'm going to go on a vacay, my once a year 30-day vacay. I don't know, I'm going to see some sights. Maybe I'll go by Water 7, see that cool train. And so instead, he actually goes to Elbaf, reads most of the important books, I'm assuming the ones about the Void Century, has it all in his dome. One of those satellite bodies, probably all of them, have it backed up. So as long as one of them gets away, they can tell the tale. They can start another war if something goes down and the Revolutionary Army, gets eradicated. Oh man, there were so many good things. I want to know what's going on with Zoro and Brook as well. See, this is exactly why Vegapunk can't include Germa 66 and Caesar into this arc. He can't bring them in as well. There's too much I need to know, and every week I'm only getting a fraction. A conversation. We essentially got one large and one tiny conversation in this. That was it. I need more. I need the action, I need the adventure, I need the mystery, I need it all. Every week. This week-to-week shit's hard, guys. I know your pain. But it gives me a week to really think about theories. It really gives me a time to reread the series. I've actually recently started to reread the One Piece manga, and it's been fantastic. All the foreshadowing I missed. Oh, it almost feels like a warm blanket. Like I know where the story's going, but it just feels just as good to read it. Even better now. I appreciate those earlier chapters more than I did the first time I went through it. This is more Fanime. What did you think of chapter 1066? What did I miss? I'm just very excited. Jaguar D Saul is back. I cannot wait for his reunion with Nico Robin. Nico Robin being my favorite female anime character of all time. She deserves this little happy moment after losing so much. And it makes me happy that her bestie, her best friend before the Straw Hats, is still alive, even though they only hung out for a few days. You got the she laugh, the whole tale, one of the best backstories in the entire story. Shit's gonna go on. Jaguar D Soul has survived. The will of Ohara goes on, people. Dragon was such a big part of this. Is Dragon actually Luffy's dad? Was he a celestial dragon? We don't know these facts. But we do know now for sure that Elbaf is going to be one of the most important arcs in the entire series now that it has all this info dump knowledge. Like to the point where Nico Robin's going to need like 30 days to read the important books at the very least, or take some with her if they give her maybe they'll give her the key, like Nico Robin, we've been waiting for you. This is your library, passed on to you by the will of Ohara. That'd be sick. Please don't forget to comment down below, talk about my new sick tat, talk about my theories, talk about, Perospero's dad finally being revealed to us in the story. I mean, Jesus. Like this video, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you later.
Here's how the story goes. We find out about a treasure in the Grand Line. There's no doubt. The pirate whose eye is on it, he'll sing. I'll be king of the pirates. I'm gonna be king.